Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of Knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good evening and welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, that podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city athletic area with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we got an interview with Kimetra Lewis for part of my Saturdays with Shrum interview slates. And I think it's a pretty good one, so we'll get to it on the other side. And I'm not going to see you at the end of the interview. We're just going to end it there. So without further ado, here is my interview with presidential candidate Kimetra Lewis. All right, so here we are on this side with our honorable guest here. And would you like to introduce yourself for the record?
Sure, Josh. My name is Kimetra Lewis. I am the NALC Branch 132 president in the city of Dallas, Texas.
All right. And what position are you running for nationally?
I am going to be running for the position of the national vice president.
Awesome. All right, so the listeners have submitted questions, and I've got my list in front of me. They're not going to have any rhyme or reason. They're just coming to you in the order that they've been submitted. So we're going to start from the top. All right. So
sounds good.
All right, perfect. How have you resolved difficult personal and professional conflicts in your time in union leadership?
Anyone taking on a position of leadership is going to be faced with challenges. I started out like probably most union leaders as a steward. I started out aggressively attacking management on every issue, big or small. I was determined that I was going to put an end to management's injustice. After a lot of fussing and unnecessary arguing, I came to realize that where I could defeat management the most was through my writing. I realized with the pen, I could win. At that point, I understood that it made no sense to allow nonsense that generally came from the difficult conflicts to control me. I just did what I do best, and I put my argument in writing. And when I have members to call me upset about what management has done to them, I share this revelation with them. And as far as my personal conflicts, I address them much the same. I plan to live the rest of my life being intentional. I do not allow personal or professional encounters to interfere with my plan. Too many times people spend too much time or angry over matters that when you put a lot of thought to them, they were meaningless. I don't want to live that way. So if I do something, I let it be for a purpose. Let it have meaning. This attitude has actually kept me from a lot of senseless arguing and stress.
Oh, that makes sense. All right.
Yep.
What traits or characteristics do you look for in stewards or union leaders?
I look for integrity, a willingness to serve others, good work ethics, a willingness and an eagerness to learn, someone who is a good listener, someone who shows compassion and is passionate about what they do. I believe a good leader also must be a good follower, because while ambition is good, you cannot allow it to cause you to lose focus on being a team player. And that's why I look for leaders who have no problem being part of a team.
All right, and that's what you are. You're part of the CLC team. Am I correct?
That's correct.
All right. Well, what have been the most difficult issues you have personally encountered during your time in the union?
Some of the most difficult issues I encountered during my time in the union were related to my gender. It's one thing to assume you are having difficulties advancing due to your gender, but it's a big pill to swallow when you are told to your face that your branch would never elect a woman to serve as president.
Ooh.
I feel being a woman, yes, excuse me. I feel being a woman has caused me to have to work harder to prove I'm worthy of the position. In sensitive situations, I've had to conceal my emotions to avoid someone saying, there she goes, being emotional. Being a woman, I have had to be firm and letting men know I stand on what I know in order for them to take me seriously. I think a lot of people characterize women as weak, and that stigma has been placed on women even when we have demonstrated we won't back down or we won't give in. So that's been one of my biggest hurdles. Oh, excuse me.
I can see that. I feel like I've seen that myself in certain situations. And I see how it would be a difficult thing to overcome sometimes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, but it's just the life we live in, this
Uh,
world.
What is your relationship with James Henry, and why would you recommend him as NALC president?
Well, I met James Henry at the Chicago National Convention for the first time. A couple of members from my branch met him at first, and they wanted me to meet him. When we started talking, he told me who he was and gave me a little history of the things he had accomplished. And I instantly saw his love for letter carriers and his love for the work he was doing. And I understood why President Rolando chose him as the vice president. We talked for a long time, sharing back and forth, and from that introduction, we became friends. Since that introduction, I have come to know James to be a professional at all times. He is honest, dedicated. He's a hardworking man who cares about the letter carriers. And despite the current situation that he is now in, and by that I mean President Renfro's removal of his vice president duties, he continues to advocate for the letter carriers and is shown to be dependable. Most people in his situation would have given up, but not James. He has demonstrated to me and the entire NELC that through adversity, he never gives up. He has a wealth of knowledge and has no qualms about sharing it. He just wants an opportunity to make that happen. He has proven his loyalty to NELC, and there is no better choice than James Henry to lead the NELC into the future.
All right. What things do you plan to address and/or change inside the NALC leadership?
Josh, what I would like to see within the NLC leadership is the voices of the membership heard through their elected officers on the executive council. The members of the executive council should have the ability to speak freely and debate on issues without any fear of retribution. No one should hold the title of leader and be unable to act like one. There is nothing wrong with disagreeing. Sometimes in our disagreements comes effective change. A good leader should be objective and open minded to that. I would advocate for change to bring about transparency in all of the dealings that involve our organization. And I would like to encourage a more unified NELC.
All right. What are your thoughts on the backlog of grievances stuck at step B?
I feel we dropped the ball when we allowed management to play its card first by declaring our grievances pending at step B as untimely appeal to arbitration. We also dropped the ball when we allowed the backlog to get out of hand. We have always had the contract on our side under Article 15.3C to advance grievances to the next level if management failed to render a decision within the time limits. Our NBAs, our RAAs, branch presidents are always saying extensions are exceptions. We should have practiced what we preached. And there has always been the memorandum of understanding regarding the dispute resolution process we could have utilized. If we had step B teams that were not being productive, we could have reviewed the team to determine the source of the problem. If it was found to be one of the team members, we could have started the process to have that person decertified. We could have activated the backup step B teams without delay. We could have moved grievances to other step B teams within the region and outside of the region. If all else failed, the memorandum of understanding says the national parties can agree to temporarily activate and pair up any trained and available step B team members to work remotely. The process actually was designed to work. We had options, we just didn't utilize them.
All right. Well, so I got a question. This is not from the. This has not been submitted. It just came to my head while you were talking. Do you think that the current system, with the fact that a lot of people are personally getting educated, we're filing a lot more grievances in general, do you think the current system that we have is suited for this amount of grievances, or do you think permanently maybe that we should increase the amount of Step E members until management stops violating?
Well, Josh, we know they're never going to stop violating.
Yep.
That's it. That's in a dream world.
Oh yeah.
When you look at the Step B teams across the country, and I know when it's put out in the media, what's put out in the media is we have a huge backlog, right?
Yep.
But we don't have a huge backlog on every Step B team throughout the region, throughout the country. So what we should do is send those cases out. Send them out to those Step B teams that don't have very much work.
You're right about that.
They earn the same amount of money as those Step B teams that come to work every day looking at a wall full of grievances.
Yep.
Those grievances should be sent out, and those people should be utilized to handle those grievances to get this backlog down. We shouldn't be just sitting around saying, okay, I'll use my own region. Region 10, even though we don't have a backlog like that, but let's use Region 10, and let's say Region 10 did have a backlog. Why should those Step B members go to work every day frustrated, looking at those grievances when region, and I'll just throw out another region because I don't know everybody's numbers. Let's say Region 2 has none. And why aren't we sending those grievances out to these other regions? I don't understand that. And I know this is happening because I've seen some of the numbers.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll continue on the questions that have been submitted. How have you personally dealt with difficult members of management?
Well, throughout my branch, I pretty much have a reputation after being an advocate for a long number of years. So they know I'll fight for my carriers 100%. So those members of management who are difficult to deal with, I treat them in the same manner in which they treat the carriers. I have no mercy on them. I believe in being fair, but I will not be trampled on or allow my members to be. So I stand up for what is right and I call out what is wrong. And it is all done in a professional manner. I don't go in being aggressive or come at them overly aggressively. I deal with them in a professional manner, but I'm firm.
I like that because sometimes it seems like they work too close. They treat them with kid gloves when we know management's ruthless on us. We need to be ruthless.
Right.
They say ruthlessness is mercy upon yourself. So, um,
I agree.
you know, I think it's great that you do that. What is your experience on training or educating union leaders?
Well, prior to becoming the branch president, I performed most of the training for my branch. I have served as a full-time formal aide. I am Step B certified. I have completed arbitration advocate training. So I use the resources I learned over the years and I share that information I obtained with the stewards. I engage with the stewards to verify what they know and what they need. Since becoming the president, I still conduct the steward trainings once a month. I believe knowledge is power, and without it, we perish. So I am big on education, teaching, learning, and applying it. I want all of my stewards to be a success. So that's why I have taken on the responsibility of doing the training, the steward training.
All right. Will you be taking over the Formal A and Beyond training, and will you be involved in the National Leadership Academy?
I am sure that once James is elected, that he will reinstate the Formula and Beyond training. So yes, I will continue with the training in his footsteps in that training. Um, and the way I understand the Leadership Academy, I am a graduate of the Leadership Academy. I understand that all the resident officers have an opportunity to meet the candidates and introduce themselves. So if there is anything else, that is required of me, of course, I will make myself available.
Nice. What is something you would say to a shop steward who is discouraged and ready to give up?
Josh, I thought this was an interesting question because I've had to do that. I found myself in that situation. So this is what I do. I would first listen to his or her complaint. Are there reasons for wanting to give up being a steward? I will remind them that being a steward comes with its ups and downs. I will let them know that sometimes we can give our all to something, and there will be those who will still say we aren't doing enough. I would tell them in those moments they need to remember the carrier whose job they saved and how happy he or she was to keep their career. I would tell them to remember how good it felt when you got the grievance settlement of a carrier who went without pay for an extended amount of time, who was awarded what they lost and more. I would tell them to remember how your chest was poked out when management was reading a DRT decision in which the union prevailed. I would just encourage them to focus on the good work we do and not the things that people use to try to bring us down. Serving others, it has its rewards, but it has its down days too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a thankless job, eh?
Right.
Now, let's see. This one is when you stood up for Brother Gates while National was on the sidelines. Did you have pressure from National to stay quiet, or did they just stand away from the entire thing?
I never had any pressure from national. I never had any interference with national on the matter involving Mr. Gates. When Brother Gates passed away, I felt a sense of obligation to him, to his family, his co-workers, and all the other letter carriers across the country. It was difficult for me to rally on his behalf because the thought of him losing his life while working played heavy on my heart. I knew the minute I got the news, I had to do something. It is a sensitive matter, but I felt compelled to let the world know that Eugene Gates' life mattered, and so does the lives of the letter carriers working in the extreme heat. Josh, I just knew something needed to be done to avoid the loss of life of another letter carrier, and that's why I did the things I did.
All right, absolutely. Please give us an update on Brother Gates' family. What have you learned from this tragedy?
Brother Gates' wife, Carla Gates, and I have actually become friends. She is a strong supporter of the letter carrier cause regarding protection from the heat. She has partnered with Representative Jasmine Crockett, and they both are vocal advocates for letter carriers, demanding better working conditions and accountability for safety policies. I'm very proud of her, considering the, the impact the loss of her husband caused. But I'm proud that instead of letting his life be just that, he lived, he died. Instead of her letting that happen, she has taken on uh, the causes of letter carriers on behalf of her husband. And through all of this, I learned that we do not need to just sit back and do nothing.
Yeah, I like that because
Yeah,
it shows management that our setbacks will not be in vain.
exactly. I said, even though the Postal Service, what we saw though, what we saw in that whole ordeal, and this is real sensitive for me, Josh. But what we saw, that if we act, the Postal Service will respond to protect their reputation, if nothing else. And while their efforts were short lived, I still believe it was effective because all across the country, carriers was getting earlier start times. That was big.
Absolutely.
And it was only because of this situation, this brother losing his life, and me coming out and speaking on it. Like I said, it was short lived, but it was effective. And now that they have gone back and changed the schedules, we are still filing our grievances and prevailing and getting those start times right, so that we can protect the letter carriers and they don't have to be out in the. I mean, we can't stop what's happening in the atmosphere, but we can put things in place to protect us while we out there. So I thank Brother Gates. I thank his wife, and I thank Representative Crockett for everything they've done.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Now,
Mhm.
next, what are the duties of vice president? You know what?
Well,
Wait a
the
second.
duties.
We're gonna
Okay.
we're gonna make this one two parted because the next question actually seems very tied into it. So, what are the duties of vice president? Secondly, what makes you particularly suited for that position, and why should we vote for you? So, I feel like those three are related.
Okay. Now, the duties of the vice president are spelled out in our Constitution, and the duty says that the vice president shall assist the executive vice president in the performance of their duties. It says that I will be responsible for the immediate supervision over the national business agent and other representatives insofar as their duties relate to their duties. And it also says that I will be responsible for any duties assigned to me by our national president.
All right.
So, with knowing that those are my responsibilities, these are the reasons why I believe, Josh, that I'm suited to do this job. Over the years of my tenure as a union advocate, I have demonstrated my devotion to letter carriers. I grew up in a union environment. The desire to serve others has been embedded in my DNA. I have served as a steward, a full-time Formal A representative, a trustee, a DRT advocate, a local business agent, the vice president of the Texas State Association, and I am currently serving as the president of Dallas Branch 132. I am also a graduate of the Leadership Academy. I am a hard worker who has never had a defeatist mind. I plan to bring change to NALC. I want to see a strong union full of educated brothers and sisters working together, striving to make a difference in the Postal Service. And to accomplish this goal, I will begin to identify the strong members in each region, allow them to choose other members from their region who they believe are strong advocates for justice, team them up to mentor other members until we have a string of strong union leaders across the country. And our mission would be to equip members to excel into union leaders that will make a profound, impactable difference in this postal service.
All right. All right. So that sounds good. That's why we should vote for you. I think that's so far I'm sold, I think. But it's not up to me. It's going to be up to everybody. All right. So
Well, I hope that everyone take into consideration that I do have the credentials behind me. I know there are a lot of people who say, "Who is Kimetra Lewis?" But I do have the credentials to show, and if they look at my history, they would know I have a sincere heart for letter carriers and
oh,
for the work I do.
it's funny. That's the next question has something to do with that. Let's see. I haven't heard you before. I'm not sure what your voice sounds like. Henry and Walton and others I have seen and heard out there. But why haven't I heard of you much? Are you out there campaigning and I just missed it, or is there another reason?
Well, I'm not really sure who asked that question, but as you know, I am a full-time president for the second largest branch in the state of Texas. I have close to 3,000 members that I am responsible for, and at this time in my life, the needs of my membership are priority. All I can say is much is given, much is required. However, I have not forsaken the opportunity to meet and greet my brothers and sisters. I have been to Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, Louisiana, Hawaii, Florida, Cleveland, San Juan, among others. And I will continue to travel around the country this year to make my presence known. I am out there campaigning, maybe not as much as James and Corey, but I am out there introducing myself and making the membership aware of my platform.
Yeah, I guess you don't have your own podcast yet. I know Kriebel just made one.
Yeah.
What are your achievements as branch president?
When I became the president, my branch had only one full-time Formal A representative. And in my opinion, for a branch the size of ours, that was ridiculous. I immediately recruited members to fill the positions of Formal A representatives. I started out with 5 members, and it continues to grow to today. I began to mentor them, and I take pride in the fact that I have sent more members to obtain formal training than any president before me. Today, some of the first members who I recruited are now serving the membership as the executive vice president, the vice president, DRT members, arbitration advocates, and Formal A representatives. We have become stronger than ever before, and we operate as a team. That's what I would bring to the table, TNLC on a national level, and that's what I want to accomplish for our organization.
All right. What is your relationship with your current NBA, Sean Boyd?
John is not only my NBA, he's a member of our branch. We have been longtime friends, and I personally have no issues with him. I used to have a running joke with one of the other members of our branch who is from Sulphur Springs, Texas, as is Sean, that nothing good comes out of Sulphur Springs. But I told Sean the other day, I got to take that back. Sean has done a great job replacing the former NBA, Javier Bernal, who I love. It was not an easy task following in his footsteps, but Javier was a good coach and Sean was a good learner. There are some areas within Region 10 that may need some improvement, but overall, the issues that are prevalent in the other regions, particularly the DRT backlog, don't concern us. But no, me and Sean are good friends.
All right, you ready for the next question?
Yes.
All right, what do you think about Misiel Guzman, the best steppy in your region? Before you answer that, though, I just want to let everyone know this was my question because I think he's a great guy. I'm a big fan of his, so I just thought I'd be funny out there. All right.
Well, that's fine. A little humor is always good. So, Josh, I really don't know much about Brother Guzman, except he's the newest DRT member for Region 10. I've heard good things about him. I heard he's very smart, and but I personally, I've never read any of his DRT decisions. So, as far as classifying him as the best DRT member, I don't know if I can do that. But if you ask me, Josh, who I believe are some of the best DRT members in our region, I would say Janine Singleton, Chris Velasquez, Kevin Blair, Jim Rusi, Gina Mendoza, and Jimmy Kimbrell. They do a great job. And I'm sure Brother Guzman is going to do the same, from what I've heard about him.
Yeah, I appreciate all our DRT members and everything they've done. All right, so we're got two more questions, so we're crunch time here. What branch has better training, Houston or Dallas, and why?
Well, as I told you earlier, I conduct the training for my branch. So if I can be a little biased, I would say Dallas.
I heard there's a little
But
rivalry there. Is that true?
no, there's
No.
no rival.
Okay.
No, not. I don't have one with Houston. But on the serious side, I really have no insight into Houston's training. So what I can say, if it was lacking, it's not anymore. Because the former Region 10 RAA AG Ramirez, he just returned to Houston as their vice president. And AG is an excellent trainer and instructor, so he has done great work for Region 10, and I know he will be a valuable asset to Branch 283.
All right. So let's see. Oh yeah, there's one last question. As with any other investigative interview, there's one important question we always have to ask, and that question is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
Sure. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. As I was telling you earlier before we started this interview, I think the podcasts that we have out, all of the podcasts that we have out, are very good tools. They're very educational, and I love it. It's very educational and informational tool that I carry. So I appreciate you for this opportunity and for the work that you do. I would like to add to what I have already said is that yes, I am a candidate on the CLC slate for the position of vice president. I truly believe it is time for change within our union. Over the past years, we have elected officers based off the opinion of those that were there before. When we elected our current president, we did the same thing. It has proven not to be a good choice, a good decision. It is time now for us, instead of following our leaders, it is time for us now to make educational choices of our own. We need to take the time to find out who the candidates are and make wise decisions, not based off of what someone is telling us to do, but what our heart is leading us to do. We cannot afford another mistake.
Absolutely.
I just want to make that clear to the members. We need to make the right choice.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on, Kimetra. Do you prefer Simpson Lewis? Is that where?
I prefer Kimetra Lewis.
Okay.
Not that I'm trying to give away my dad's name.
Yeah.
But it's just simpler.
All right. It was a pleasure having you on, Kimetra Lewis. I appreciate the time today, and hopefully everyone has the ability to make their own informed choice now. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.